What's up, guys? My name is Kent Wheelis. I'm an aspiring media composer, and today I am going to show you guys my approach to the score for Spitfire Audio's movie Selene, which was made to celebrate the release of their new Albion Solstice. Albion Solstice, for those of you who are unaware, is Spitfire, as the name suggests, it's Spitfire Audio's new Albion, which is made with the theme of folklore, Celtic folklore, along those lines. So like the whole Wiccan, some Celtic pagan type of rituals and rites and that sort of thing. Like they took a lot of time to sample players from that style. Very cool library. Very I highly recommend it. As for their film is they offered it for free for composers to try their hand at scoring to picture, which love it when they do that. Um, so yeah, if you guys are again would love it, just to make it simpler, there's a link for it for that video in the description. Um, So if you are kind of feeling a little stumped as to where to get started, hopefully this will serve as sort of an inspiration on what kind of direction to take, or maybe a completely opposite direction. That's pretty cool. I've listened to some of the other submissions by using the hashtag, and it's really cool to see the different interpretations. This is simply my take on the movie. Um, so yeah, without further ado, let's get started. Before we get started, let's watch the movie without the music to kind of get a feel for what's going on. Let's go.
It's not that you haven't been here. It's that you are here. It's that you all are here. She finds a way in, which pulls you apart. You once told me it's what each of them in balance bring you. Seeing is all that's needed. They are lost when you're not here.
Okay, so immediately after watching this, there were two things that I wanted to check off my list of things that I wanted to accomplish. Firstly, I wanted to use Albion Solstice. That was, you don't have to. They even said that you don't have to, because this isn't like a competition or anything like that. But just for me, I had to check that off. I had to. It's kind of like this. I forget what composer does this. I think it was the guy who did 28 Days Later from their composer magazine. But I'm very similar to this, which is if I get a new instrument, I gotta use it in a project. And for me, that's two: Albion Solstice and Zebra. Zebra synthesizers. We'll get to the synths in a minute. The other check mark that I wanted to check off my list, was using Spitfire's other library, the London Contemporary Orchestra, their strings. That's also in the link. That's also in the link. There's a link for that in the description of this video. If you're not familiar with the LCO, that's probably up until now. That was my favorite library from them. They have this whole avant-garde thing down to a T. They're an orchestra that's done Alien Covenant, and Crimson Peak. Anyway, so in the very beginning of this, I wanted to set the tone to just really, like, pretty much telling you what movie this is going to be. So the first thing that starts off is this pad from Albion Solstice. I thought it was appropriate enough to start off with Solstice. This is using what they call the drone grid. This is part of their 3 sections in Albion Solstice, which is the cassette orchestra, the drone grid, and the Solstice orchestra. For this instance, we're using the drone grid, and very similar to their other Evo grid based libraries. Using this thing, you can randomize, and I randomized on the callers. I even save this as a snapshot so I don't lose it. And that pad sounds like this. It's very subtle, but it meshes very well with the already busy sound design that's happening in the very beginning. I wanted this kind of background, almost like their callers, I think, is a lot of their woodwind stuff. So there's a saxophone somewhere in that realm. But that shattering, I really wanted to drive home this like chit chattering, as if like the woods could speak, which I think meshes very well with the sound design from the video. Let's listen to that with the sound. Tone builder, just a simple tone builder. That's pretty much what I wanted to set things off. But I wasn't done there. What I wanted to do again was to really fill it. So to double it, I used the London Contemporary Orchestra's articulation known as Twitchy on their cello, which that articulation sounds like. A very simple articulation, nothing really fancy there, but when you mix it with the sort of wailing and the callers from the drone grid, it fills it. Like it definitely completes it. And again, something that's not really too busy because it's already kind of busy with the sound, but it's just your ear can pick this up, and that again, it's just it fills the mood. It definitely sucks you into what's about to happen or what's about to be on screen. So then, to go along with that, this idea of if the woods could speak, I used a zebra patch. This is where zebra comes in. It's from Dark Zebra. So if you have zebra, then you can add on. It's kind of like an add-on to zebra, and this along with the pitch bend. again, it's simple. We're not. I didn't want to make things too complicated. It's just, again, I'm just like, the whole idea that I wanted to do in the very beginning was to just, I wanted to suck you into this world, and I didn't want to go all ham on horror, but I definitely didn't want to make you feel safe either. It's like, it's one of those beautiful but deadly. You're enticed, but you're, ooh, should you go in? So that, let's go. And then it comes in again.
It's not that you haven't been here. It's that you are here. It's that you all are here.
Let's listen to it again without the sound. So there's 3 parts, as you can see. There are 3 parts where the synth comes in. It's all just simple little wailings. Maybe I'll bring in the video to show you. Again, I wanted to use that as, again, like, the woods are speaking, not necessarily threatening or something like that, but just they're talking. But then another zebra patch that I used was, bring you back right there, was I used what is, again, from Dark Zebra, I used bass propeller. The bass propeller, very simple name. Again, my favorite way to use this was with the pitch bend. Using that pitch bend. And then mix that in with the chatter. Let's listen to that whole beginning again with the LCO twitchy, the collars, and the sound.
It's not that you haven't been here. It's that you are here. It's that you all are here.
So that was the beginning. That's the first part. I did these in sections. I treated this as if like it was a 3-act. So the first act is just kind of setting things up. Actually, take that back. There's a 4-act. We'll get. I treated this in 4 acts instead of 3. But the first part, I guess you could say, is like a prologue, just kind of building things up, warming up, getting you into the feel of things, and then we get to what I like to call the meat, because in this part, this is where a theme comes in, and here we go. So when we get to this part here, where it's just this kind of like a breakdown, it's just no sound at all, and it's just kind of showing you various images and that sort of thing. This is where I wanted to introduce basically a theme, and I spent quite a few hours trying to figure out what would be the best approach to do the theme. I went through the London Contemporary Orchestra. I didn't like a lot of things that I was coming up with there, and then I just realized that the perfect, just because I've been on this idea of as if the woods could speak, I just decided to go back to the choir, or as I decided to use part of the Solstice Orchestra and use what they call the hosts. And the hosts is their choir. Let's bring that up. So, in the whole video, I kind of go between two different articulations. We'll hear cellular later on in the video, but I wanted to use the host as their main as the main line for the theme. Oop. It would. Whoopsie me. Let's take that off mute. That would solve things. And then I kind of noodled around with sort of a Dorian-esque like a Dorian line. It just such a haunting choir. Love it. I am a sucker for a good choir. Love it. I love vocal melodies. The way that I did this, I had this sort of drone with an octave. It starts off with an octave on D. If I can, you know what? Instead of butchering my own melody, let's listen to that melody. And here it is. So that's the theme. That's essentially the main theme, the nuts and bolts of this video, or of of this movie. Let me get my video player back up. There we go. And to me, the images here aren't necessarily frightening. It's haunting, but it's also kind of enticing. Like it's kind of sucking you in. You want to go in. You want to go deeper. So to partner with this, I wanted to introduce a little bit of tension, because Spitfire mentioned in a description about Selene that she goes through phases. There's the light, there's the dark. She's pulling you in all kinds of directions, and even in the movie, she has a range of emotions that she gives out, from being sad to being almost joyful, and then there's a couple of scenes where she's like really, really mad. So I kind of wanted to introduce this bit of tension. So to go along with the main theme, I have again another pad. This time one of to bring more emphasis to the hosts. I panned one element to the left and one element to the right to keep the choir in the center, and I'm using On one hand, I am using an articulation on the London Contemporary Orchestra called open granular trem, which it's this scratchy, love it. It's basically just, it's almost like a very aggressive trem, honestly. But it's scratchy. I love it. So to go with the theme, let's solo you and solo you. Come over here. This starts well before the theme does, to, again, sort of like a mood builder, kind of setting things up, or kind of like a little prep. So what starts before the theme it's distorted, it's scratchy, I love it. But it still sounded a little flat. So to kind of help it along, I went to Albion Solstice. And I went to, this time, if I can, there we go. Only this time I went with the cassette orchestra. And I did now the cassette orchestra is very, very cool. I have yet to really wrap my head around the full nits and grits of this. In fact, I'm still trying to figure out eDNA Earth, but I have combined Lifeblood, which is another host type or choir type sound, along with the Swarm, which is like a slow, steady crescendo into full distortion. I left both of these pretty much standard. The only thing I really did was just added these two sounds, and they mesh very, very well. Yeah, you hear it just, it's slightly moving from being natural to just haunting. So I partnered those two, the granular of the LCO with the cassette orchestra. Still wasn't completely satisfied. I wanted to still bring this element of slight tension, or that, like, maybe like a heartbeat or just some kind of rhythm. So this is probably a very big detour, but I went to Abbey Road for their low strings, specifically using their pizzicato. So I can get this kind of almost, a rhythmic, very, very, very rhythmic, like effect. It's just all happening every quarter beat or every four. Just that. it's simple, and yet, in my opinion, very effective. And then when you mix all three of them together, it has this very nice combination of beautiful, haunting, and then just a little bit threatening. So that's that part. And then when it then gets into what I call the I guess, they a guy Mitchellmore always says that they call uh, the type of music before the action hits, like action prep, where you're sort of prepping for the real action bit. So I kind of took that approach with this as I'm prepping for the real nitty gritty of it, which is the scary part. And the first thing that came to mind, honestly, legitimately, was the LCO. When I'm using the violins this time instead of the cello, and I'm using 3 notes. Oops. One note's just not good enough. 3 notes just not good enough. There we go. Kind of has that classic horror movie vibe. And I then wanted to use another section of the hosts from the Solstice Orchestra, only this time I'm using the motors and effects area of hosts. And I'm using the very last articulation here, which is Song Bath. And you get only 5 notes, but those 5 notes are really... Oops. So that's going on. And then coming in at this point here, which you'll see when we show you all the elements together again, is another section of... oops. I didn't click on the right thing. There we go. This time I am then combining it with the Wiccan Gliss, which is... Oops. So then the propulsion of the low strings from Abbey Road, that's still going on. In fact, that hasn't even paused at this moment in time. It's still providing the rhythm. So with all those elements on, so then I then take a little bit of a breather. Let's kind of back off a little bit, and then one final synth that comes in to the end is this patch, from Zebra called it's called Blade High Hard. I guess this is a similar patch, if not, I think a patch that was used on Blade Runner, because Dark Zebra is Hans Zimmer's patches and stuff for the Dark Zebra add-on. Whoop. I was telling you the wrong the basic analog drone. That's right. Don't mind the fact I totally know the patches that I used. Totally. I'm a professional. Anyway, like I was saying, this is the patch that I was telling you about. It's just this very harsh ending. Because the way that it ends, let's just solo this for a second before I show you the music.
They are lost when you're not here.
When it gets to this part, I don't know why, but I took it as this is the most threatening piece, or not, maybe not necessarily threatening, but powerful. That you definitely don't want to mess with this. So, why did I just close that? Okay, thank you. So, the way that I wanted to represent this was using this very fat and heavy synth line to really tell you how powerful it is. And then to kind of drive home, I then partnered it with a gong from the BBC Symphony Orchestra. Or not. Let's try that again. But I didn't just want to leave it there without anything, so I went back to the theme, and this time I went with just the only instrument, or a solo instrument, so I went with Spitfire's solo cello. And let's bring you all the way back here.
Lost when you're not here.
And then just for final little touches, I went back to that propulsion, that same low strings line from Abbey Road 1, and I brought it back. And now, let's watch the whole thing and see how that turned out.
It's not that you haven't been here. It's that you are here. It's that you all are here. She finds a way in, which pulls you apart. You once told me it's what each of them in balance bring you. Seeing is all that's needed. They are lost when you're not here.
So that was my approach. That was my interpretation and take on the Selene movie from Spitfire Audio. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was a help to you if you are feeling a little, stuck in writer's block or you don't know how to start. I hope this was helpful to you in either finally figuring out what direction to go, whether it's very similar in terms of like tone to me or in a completely different direction. Maybe you thought it more hopeful and more uplifting than mine, which is totally awesome. But thank you so much for watching. If this is something that you're into, click that like, hit that subscribe, and leave a comment of what you think, or leave a comment about what you think of Albion Solstice. I am thoroughly enjoying myself and experimenting with Albion Solstice. I am still not anywhere near done with figuring things out. I think my favorite section is probably the hosts. I love choir. Thank you again, and I'll see you next time.